Well, the book is something I was contemplating for a long time, and COVID came along and provided the opportunity where I needed a project. But my police experience was quite unique in that I did a couple of years of uniform, and then I was spotted, selected, and trained to do undercover work. And there was a time in Canada, at least, where when you were doing the work, you were going on long-term jobs, different parts of the country. I did it intermittently for 8 years. There was nothing terribly unique about the jobs I did, and I was a reasonably good operator. But I did go through that era, and then I had the opportunity to do run the national program, the selection and training of operators. And I went abroad for 10 years in Miami. I was the first RCMP officer to go to Miami on a full-time basis, and I was there for 4 and London for 5. So I was fortunate in the timing when I went through policing, and also the RCMP. I was fortunate to be around an organization that had an advanced covert program. The RCMP, a fellow by the name of Abe Snedanko, started it in the 60s. He had a lot of vision, and he was ahead of most, if not all, of the Western police forces in the western part of the world, where he started selecting and training in an early time when others weren't even thinking about it. The change from when I left the public sector, the police, went over to the private sector, again, is not that unique, but what is that I took the skill sets, the covert skills that I learned in the RCMP, and I would use them successfully in investigations with my company. I started a company that I ran for a few years, and then I was acquired by IPSA International, which is an American group. I was with them for 15. I was running it at the end. And during those years, I had some very successful investigations using the covert technique. So there's a number of reasons. It's a legacy book, of course, and it was, I thought, a good reason to document what happened during those years was because of the uniqueness, and again, because I was able to successfully convert skill sets over to the private side. Well, probably the one that generates the most interest and was most challenging in a lot of ways was the Libyan case, where an old informant of mine, a source that I developed during the Miami years, approached me 20 years after I'd last seen him. And I was actually sitting in a hotel in Dubai with the CEO of IPSA at the time. And he tracked me down, and he introduced me to a friend of his, a criminal friend that was in Bangkok, who knew a person, who knew people who had these boxes of money, $100 bills. Each box had I think 20 million. So there was a lot of cash that they purported to have taken from Libya when Libya was coming unglued. A lot of assets did leave Libya and went in different directions. The World Bank was involved. The World Bank had a program called STAR, Stolen Asset Recovery, where they were engaging people in the private sector to help them to repatriate the assets that were stolen from Libya. That was challenging for a lot of reasons. I was working a high-risk investigation without any police authority or support. We did get some authorities involved, the World Bank I mentioned, and U.S. Secret Service, to help us track the money that we saw. We saw 2 times money in in Ivory Coast. First time was 20 million, or sorry, 2 boxes, 20 million each of $100 bills. So they're stacked right full of $100 bills. And the second time was 80 million. It turned out that it wasn't successful in that we didn't recover the money, and it's a bit of a twist. You'll have to read the book to learn about it, but it was very challenging and a case that most would not have ever experienced. Well, I think they'll learn more about covert, what real covert work is, because I didn't embellish on any of the stories, and I actually played them down somewhat. I've been told by some of my colleagues that I could have provided more detail, but it gives readers insight into what real covert is about, covert work, and what the RCMP has done with their program through the years. And but also for people that want to follow the same path, it gives them a bit of a blueprint as to how you can venture from the public sector over to the private sector, what needs to be done to be successful. So I don't know that there's many books, certainly in this industry, that describe it the way I did.